Hello, guys. Um, so today is the second day of Odoo Experience 2024, and I'm going to tell you about what's new in the JavaScript framework. So my name is Jerry Deboni. I've been working at Odoo for a long time, and pretty much all of my time at Odoo was focused on the JavaScript framework in general. And it makes sense that we have a lot of resources used to improve the framework because Odoo is growing year after year. We get new applications, we get new features, we have more developers working on Odoo. And so the framework, the JavaScript framework that powers up the rest of the business code has to change as well. And so that's what I'm going to tell you about today for this talk. What's new in JavaScript framework edition version 18, right? Whenever I talk about the evolution of the JavaScript framework, there is a question that comes up quite frequently, and that question may be kind of a joke question, but I think there is some interesting matter to discuss first. So I want to address that just right now. The question is, what about OWL3? Will it come soon? Will you guys break our code base again and again and again? And it makes sense because for the last 5-10 years, the framework changed so much that I think it's quite difficult to base a large code base on top of the framework. But the good news is that, in my opinion, it's getting more stable. So the answer to this specific question is that no, we don't plan any change in OWL. There are no changes in OWL for version 18, and I can even tell you that I don't expect any more change for version 19 either. OWL is working quite well. It's stable. It's fast. When you have performance problems, it does not come from OWL itself. It usually comes from the rest of the JavaScript code, or maybe the networking architecture, or maybe the Python code, but usually not from the rendering part of OWL. So OWL is doing its job nicely. It's not perfect. I think we can improve it. We have some ideas for doing exactly that, but it's not very high priority compared to the rest of the framework. So don't worry, OWL will not change too much for the next year, I expect. Okay? Right. So if OWL did not change, what did change? Because my team is like 20 people large, and you have many other people at Odoo working on JavaScript. So of course there are some changes, and we need that. We need them. But I would try to describe those changes as mostly evolutionary. So this release was kind of stable in a way. We did not really we changed the basic design principles behind the framework. The framework stays kind of the same. Those ideas of components, hooks, services, registries, all of that, it worked. The business application can use them. We have a nice structure that makes sense. So what we did change is we needed to add new features. So those are more for users, so user experience kind of features, and then we added, of course, many different features for developers. We wanted to improve the lives of our developers and of every developers working on Odoo, obviously. Okay? So what I will try to do now is to highlight some of those changes, just to give you a glimpse of what's going on. But there are too many changes, and they do not really form a coherent story from one idea to the next. What it's actually is like a bunch of stuff going on at the same place, every time, everywhere, and it's kind of complicated to make sense of that. But I will just highlight some of my favorite features. I hope I did not forget any important ones, but I probably did, so sorry if I did. This is just what I noticed going on this year. So first, those features that are more visible for users, right? One of them is that we did many kind of improvements to the domain editor and the way you can work with domains in Odoo. We added new operators, start with, end with, and this one is quite interesting, is within. This is a way to create a dynamic filter. As you probably know, it was easy before to create filters to say, okay, I want to look at my data for the starting from the last 3 months until now. And when users were doing that kind of filters, it would work the day they did it. But then the next month, the filter would not correspond. It would just it would hard-code the actual initial date. And it's quite difficult to make a real dynamic filter, a filter that is relevant to the current date. And that's what this operator is doing. It just makes it easy. But as you can see, it's kind of a virtual operator. What it does is that the domain editor lets you edit easily, and then it will create a domain that actually already works right now. So this is just to make it easy to write domains that perform the way you expect. Okay. Another kind of change that you noticed probably in Fabien's keynote, this is user-friendly URL. So we had to rebuild our client-side routing code. Now the URL contains the more information about the route, the path that the user took to get there. And what's first, it's nice for users, so they are like a simple and easy to remember URLs. That's nice. And second, it is useful for the web client code to keep track of the current context, so it will make it easier for us to optimize and to restore the complete breadcrumb history when you refresh the page. So this is like a big change in a way that makes the life of many people useful, easier, right? Another kind of very visible feature is that we have a new embedded action system. That's what Fabien showed you yesterday during the keynote as well. This is a way to group a main action and sub-actions together. So it makes it easy for the user to navigate between one of those sub-actions and the next, or the previous one, keeping the context of the current project, for example. So yeah, I don't want to talk too much about this right now. It's a user feature that kind of integrates with the web client in an interesting way. So let's talk now about developer stuff. There are many other user changes, of course, but I want to focus more about the changes that we make on the JavaScript framework code. And most, I should not say JavaScript framework, I should say the web framework in general, because I'm talking about views as well, and all of those other technologies that comes with writing a web application. So one of those changes that was made was a redesign of the Kanban view architecture description. So you know, most views, they have a way to be described in a XML document that we store in the database, and that's really a powerful feature of Odoo. It is really the base of the extensibility of the web client. Because of those XML documents, you can extend those documents using XPath and create subview or modify them or add new information in them from one module to the next. So that's a very, very powerful architecture. The problem is that we had ourselves the issue is that those templates for Kanban view, they tend to be difficult to maintain. We notice that we often have to adjust some padding or layout in one template, and then we notice that we have the same kind of problems in a different view, in a different model. And that's kind of annoying, because if you think about it, most Kanban views, they kind of share a few basic layout. You have usually a cart, sometimes you have a footer, sometimes you have a part on the left sidebar where you have some action, some information, some image, for example. And there are not so many different kind of layouts. There are many layouts, but not that many if you look at the structure. And what we did is to simplify. We created a new syntax for Kanban view. And you can see the T name, Kanban box and cart. That's what makes it compatible, backward compatible. So your views now will keep working, but if you use T name equal cart, that means that it is a template that is applied in the new syntax, okay? And this new syntax is really not much more than the previous one. This is still HTML, but you have 3 new tags to position the contents. You have a footer tag, a main tag, and a side tag. So you can just describe what's in the footer, what's in the aside part, and what's in the main part if you want to. And we can still use some Bootstrap class, of course. This is HTML, and that's what we did when we remade all of our Kanban views, sometimes to adjust a little bit the style or the layout. But with that and some scene default values, and all of that work to remove as much boilerplate as possible. For example, I'm not sure there was a, yes, you can see in the previous code, we had this OE Kanban global click. This was a CSS class that was used to describe some behavior. And it's kind of weird if you think about it. I think we made a lot of mistakes among the years, and this one was of them. It just tells the framework that this is a clickable card. But now this is the default, so you don't need to add it anymore. It's just useless now. It's just by default, it's clickable. And if you don't want to make your card clickable, you have to other way to do that. Okay, so this is one of those changes, but this is not the only one. We have other simplifications in our view architecture description. For example, this div class equal OE chatter with 3 field names, 3 fields inside. All of that was just to describe the fact that this form view should have a chatter. Okay, and we replace that with a chatter tag. Simply, this chatter tag can be configured. It has some options, but it makes it usually much simpler and much more declarative. This is no longer, we're no longer using HTML to describe a view. We're using a kind of a semantic tag, so that makes it much better, and in my opinion, much easier to customize, and it will allow Studio and other kind of tools to understand much better the structure of your views. Another small but interesting change is it's a task that has been in the making for, I don't know, 8 years maybe. This is renaming the tree tag for the list view into a list tag. See, and this has been in our backlog for years and years and years, and we never did it because it was just too annoying, and there was not that much value added. However, I think we expect someday that we want to actually add a new tree view. So it would be nice to not have this tree tag already taken by the list view. So that was why we did actually. And there is something that is very important. I hope it's very important. This is the beginning of a new way of working inside Odoo. We have a new code upgrade script tool now. It's called Upgrade Code from the Odoo CLI. And this is the first task, the tree to list conversion, that is using this ID. What we plan to do, I hope we will do it, but what we plan to do is every time we make change in the framework that is scriptable, that you can assist with a script, instead of doing it directly in the code, we will try to do it in a script and provide a script for everyone to use. So hopefully it would help many people to speed up their conversions. Maybe the script will not do it 100% of the conversion, but it could, for example, give you 95% of the conversion, and maybe give you some hints or tips on how to convert the rest. Sometimes you need a human to understand what's going on, but still, I hope that it's a good sign that we want to make your lives, and our lives, of course, as well, easier to evolve. And in my opinion, this is something that will help the framework move a little bit faster, because we will be able to do larger change without being scared of breaking everyone's stuff. Okay, so that's one big change, more like in the way we work than in actual change. Next, that's a pretty important change. Maybe not for everyone, but internally that's a big change. I don't know if you're using a QUnit testing framework. That's the way unit tests are made in Odoo. And what we did this year, finally, is to move away from QUnit to a new built-in framework, because we are Odoo, of course, we want to make our own stuff, and it's called Oot. And there are some good reasons for doing our own framework. One of them was that with QUnit, it was not possible to have isolation. And the way Odoo write its code is annoying. It's annoying to test because when you have one add-on, we can write tests in one add-on for some features. It's nice, but then you may have another add-on that will modify some components in the first add-on, and so it could break the test written in the first add-on. And with Out, we don't have that problem. The test for one add-on will just be executed, will be run with only the code that is involved in this add-on and its dependencies. So that's a big change that will allow us to write our tests without breaking other code. Okay, and then it has other nice feature, a better interface. We can easily search among tests. You have a nice way of looking at the suites and subsuites. There are many interesting features, and it has a more an easier syntax. This is what would look like very stupid test that check that some function can properly add 1 and 2 together. This is just to showcase what a test looks like. This is really inspired by Jest test runner. So nice change if you want to write tests. Unit tests, because if you want to write integration tests, you may use tours, possibly, and in that case you will be happy to learn that we made a lot of change on the tour system. We simplified the syntax for tests. The way you write tours, each step, it has like a bunch of keys that were not documented and that were not. It was not easy to write a tour that was solid. And now we just simplified that. We use a nice default to, for example, not to run some code. And with all of that, writing a tour is much simpler, and we can automate that as well. So we have a new onboarding tour model. So now there is some, sorry, we have some in database way to represent a tour, and we have and we have a way to run a tour as an onboarding tour. So that means if it's in mode tutorial, where the user will see like a nice little tooltip that says what it should do, and then when the user is performing some action, the next tooltip. And you can run also tour in testing mode, so that's mean in automated mode. And something else that you can see, there is a record button here. This is a new recording tool, so you can easily make your own tours and maybe share them with someone else. I'm not sure what it will become, but I think it will be useful to share a workflow between people, even without not being a developer. Maybe some technical analyst could write an example of a small workflow like this. Another change is that we have remade completely for, I'm not sure which, maybe the third time, our new WYSIWYG HTML editor. So before that, we had like many failed starts, many problem with that. And now we remade it, but this time using OWL from the start. So at least that's good for that. And we already hopefully understand much better the problem. So now this is a new editor that is designed for extensibility from day one. I don't have so much time, so I will not explain that much about that. I will just tell you that we are again in a kind of uncomfortable situation. We have we remade the HTML editor. This is in the HTML editor add-on, but we still have the old web editor code because we still use it for the website builder and the mass mailing template editor. And so that's just a temporary situation. What we plan to do, obviously, is to update the website builder and mass mailing code to use the new editor, so we can remove the add-on web editor. But that has not been done for this version. It will come, I expect, for version 19. Right. We have many other kind of change. So this is really like a bunch of change that comes. For example, we reorganized the debug menu. So it's simple change, but it makes it much easier to find what you're looking for. We removed, that's a very small change. We removed the need to tag JavaScript file with an empty comment on top of the file to tell the framework that this file should be transpiled and not the other one. Now, by default, all files are transpiled. We added a .translate suffix in OWL to make it easy to translate props. We added a validation system for registry. We tried to experiment with a nice way to lazy load code, and so on and so on. So we really made a lot of small various quality improvement in the framework. But there are too many to let you know. Oh, and even more. We removed, I think, I'm not sure completely, but almost completely removed jQuery. We apply XPath from templates in a browser and not in a server. It solves some specific issues. We remove onboarding banner system because it was no longer used. There is a new JSON route that Fabien showed you. Better support for PWA, progressive web application. A lot of stuff. So, I don't have much time, so I'll take a few seconds to tell you what's next for next year. I cannot predict the future, of course, but we have many ideas, and we will discuss next week and the week after what our roadmap for version 19 will be. So all of that is just, for now, just ideas that we will discuss. So we expect to improve again the ergonomy and intuitiveness of the framework. That's something that we want to do a lot. We may work on performance work. We have some idea to improve the tooling. And of course, if you give us your idea or suggestion today or tomorrow, maybe we'll add it to the roadmap for next year. So thank you for this talk. I'm out of time. So you can ask questions if you want in the pad. Thank you again.
So thank you, Jerry, for your very nice presentation. So our moderator already answered a few questions, but I still have one for you. So does Odoo support the addition of external JavaScript libraries nicely?
Sure. Odoo is really a framework. It's a backbone of your application. You can use whatever library you want, but of course it depends. Odoo has its own bundling system, asset management system. So if you want to use other frameworks, other libraries, it should be fine if they're like just simple JavaScript file. But if you need a build system, you need to do it yourself, right? But it's possible. I've seen people using React or other frameworks in Odoo, even on other frameworks in Odoo. I wouldn't do it, but it's possible. And any kind of JavaScript library, just add them to your asset file and it should be fine.
Thank you. Another one, we saw we can mount a component using mount on document.body, but how can we call all components from a QWeb template?
That's interesting question. Well, first, QWeb is usually QWeb template. Those are rendered by the server, right? So there is no JavaScript running there, so you cannot do anything about all there. But we added a system. Let me show you maybe. It will take just a second. No. If you search for all components, yes, there is a way. Look for all component in the Odoo source code, and you'll see this is a specific tag that we can use. It has a name. This is the key into a registry and some props, and you can use that in your website code, and it will just render this tag serve that to the browser, and then you have some code that will mount an all component to this place. So maybe it will help you.
Okay, thank you. How can we get information context from old URL now?
I'm not sure about the question. All the code for the routing is inside the router service. So router.js. So you can look into this code. The router is exporting. Let me check. Yeah, this is what you can get if you import the router service, and you can get some information from there. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe a last one. Do you think about integrating with Figma?
I personally don't. So Figma is a tool that some people use inside Odoo, but there are no integrations to my knowledge. But maybe some people will do. I don't know. This is not planned, at least from the JavaScript framework point of view.
Okay, nice. Very last one. What happens when you copy paste a URL with breadcrumb history?
If you copy paste, well, the do with breadcrumbs, the framework will try to reload all those steps in the breadcrumb, and you will preserve the application, and all of that will be preserved. However, you will not get the context from all the context information from the context key if you moved from one record to the next using the, for example, those stat buttons. So it will not be perfect, but it's much better than before.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. Thank you, everybody. I see that there are still a few questions, so feel free to come to us also, of course, to answer them.
Yeah, my team is ready to answer your questions. I'll be available as well, but I have a talk just in 5 minutes right here, where I will try to explain the JavaScript framework. It's like a small mini project to explain the basics of the JavaScript framework. So if that interests you, you can watch that one as well. Thank you.
Thank you.